Okay, we begin. So I just want to start with raw feed, as if you stepped into a world, and that world is. Would somebody let me know if you hear the coffee brewing? I just want to say what it is if you do, so people don't think I'm sitting in a hot tub or something. Um, I love it. It's part of our family, our morning sounds. So I want to start with a couple of things. Forever, which means about 12,000 years. One of the challenges of coming here as a wayshower, as that precious movie telepathic little clip I posted on a sacred space, um, volunteers. You have to decide if you're a volunteer or not. I'm pretty sure I'm a volunteer, and I'm pretty sure on my way here, you can hear our coffee singing. That's very precious. So it's just finishing its song. It'll be with it. It'll be will be available. It'll be done in a minute. Um, I think it's something you probably need to figure out right now. I think would be a good moment to do that. Um, why? Because otherwise you're going to be a human caught in linear time, for one thing. You're just going to be about your day, and you're going to be about hoping things turn out, and you'll feel no relationship to anything turning out. You won't feel any relationship to the events that are occurring and who you are in the matter and why you volunteered to come. So over the years, you might say that I've operated in such a way that I kind of cull, without meaning to. I have a very straight line, and that straight line is to take care of life in a manner that it can evolve consistently with the original nature of the original design here, paradise. So no matter how many times I say I'm people centric, I'm not people centric, I'm field centric. For the most part, I don't think human beings know what I'm talking about. It can go back to a simple, a simple dynamic, an old soothsaying. God cares only for the singing, not for who sings the song. And I know that's very offensive to human beings that want to be recognized individually, wanted to be known for who they are, and need that accreditation to even think they're of value. But you know what? It's December 31st, 2021. We really need to let that go. Maybe pick it up on December 31st, 2027, but not between 2021 and 2027. So I operate with persistent frustrations. But like your frustrations, I don't get to have those frustrations uh, threaten what I came here to do and what I came here to be. And so a tremendous amount of a human life, whether the human being realizes it or not, is really trying to recover your remembrance, your recall, your memory of what you are in your direct link with creation and as creation itself in human form. I recommend that you take that on. If you're on this video, if you're listening here, I only talk about it here and in the field of Tantra mat work. I don't really talk about it as a daily measure. Something happened yesterday, and what happened was that fire, the spirit of fire and the spirit of wind went wild in the Boulder, Colorado area. And we've been taught to fear the weather, not be in unity with the weather, not be one with creation. We've been taught to do that. And I left it alone. It wasn't mine to do, wasn't my engagement. I didn't have the type of relational field I have with global community of the field of Tantra Mat. And this is in no way casting aspersions on people, other people. I promise, it's technical for me. But if you don't have a body of humanity in unity with creation, able to move with the powers and forces of creation, then you have no symbiotic or interdependent relationship. It depends on you. You depend on it. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. You're interrelated, you're interactive, and you're interdependent. You know, it's really hard maybe for human beings to realize, but creation really wants us here. And it really does not take much. It's just lost skills and capacities. It does not take much to bond with the fire and the wind and say, do I need to move my butt now? Or am I okay? Or to be a human being whose love, whose care, whose heart, whose desire for our loved ones to live, that we basically kind of put a light around them. We don't put a shield around them. We have nothing to protect them from. Look, we die. One way or other, right now, we still die. But we can put a light around our loved ones. We can put a light around areas of our world. And the creation hears, sees, if you're in unity with it, if you're one with it. And how do you know? Because you feel the relationship. It's like saying, well, you don't love your children. Oh, yes, I do. And then you might say, well, act like it. That I probably would need to take into consideration, as you would. So I'm really a soothsayer. Today at noon, Mountain Time, there'll be a whole nother conversation that came to me last night. Yvonne and Terrell and I hit a moment where we realized there was an intelligence that obviously could very well be part of our intelligence, either individuated or it could be part of the intelligence of the field of Tantra Mat. We don't know. We haven't lived it yet. But the minute I keyed into it, the minute I realized it, I realized that the actual intelligence of the powers and forces of creation are touching our intelligence again. Not that they didn't always, but it's different to be touched by it and to be operative in it. I'm operative in it. So when Kaya contacted me yesterday and she said, help, I said, okay. Then I had to be me. Not me, the identity, not me, the personality. Me who operates in unity with all life and what has to exist as whole. Me who operates with the powers and forces of creation. Me who has the technology, has been moving with it, well, here since I was born, about 3 years old. And before then, far more skilled, far more capable, because there wasn't as much pressure against the skill and capacity as there is now. So we all have the skill and capacity. It's the skill and the capacity in the face of what? That's why I built a shared field. That's why people stay related. Why we stay related. Remember the word related? It's key. We stay interactive, interrelated, and at some point we won't fear being interdependent. I belong to you. You belong to me. I am you. You are me. That won't be so fearful anymore. But it's really, really hard when weather's held as the enemy. When the fear of one's possessions lost and one's house lost has you so caught in the fear, so pushing back against the powers and forces of creation, they can't keep their balance. They can't stay in harmony. They can't stay in proportion. They can't stay casual. They actually get worse. They actually get worse because the need of the balance and the reordering of the greater systems of reality, which we live in, which gives us air, which gives us food, which gives us water, they to get engaged to return the ecological system here. And when we push back on it, when we fear it, when we try to stop it, rather than give it a place, it actually kind of loses its consciousness. It just is seeking harmony and balance, and it loses relationship with the things that are less important, like us, because we can recycle. Trees can recycle. The earth recycles. But the ecosystems of air, fire, water, earth, wind, they have to rebalance this planet. We don't have any say over that. We only have say about, could you go another way? Because Janice lives on the coast of St. Petersburg and Dade lives on the coast of Miami. Do you think there's a way you can go produce the same result and not have the human population affected as much? Now, the problem is that the human population is sprawled out over everywhere and forgotten to stay in harmony, balance, symmetry, and proportion with the earth herself. But she's not punishing us. Jesus Louise. Oh, she loves us. We're born of her matter. It's just that if the original nature, the original design here isn't constantly restored, she becomes dust. I just don't think she has any interest in becoming dust. And you can look in history. You know, I was in Saudi Arabia. I couldn't believe it. I went to someplace out in the desert. It was very clear. It had once been either a gigantic lake or an ocean. You could see it because all the wind had blown the sand off the buildings. So you had this whole city out in the desert that had clearly been part of either a canal or sitting on the side of a lake. There were, ancient ruins of boats carved on the temple walls, but it was now desert. We have the weather shifting all over the place right now. What do you think is happening? We call it global warming, but only because we consider our human survival at risk. The planet's just doing her thing. But yesterday was incredible. So I got on the thread per Kaya's request. I said, who's there? Iris was the first one there. I said, you know how to do this, because she does. Bond with me, because that bond creates a broader light, a brighter power, more capacity, until we have individual strength and capacity, we have to bond with others in the field to create that strength and capacity, simply to get the attention of the fire and the wind, not to dominate it, to make it do your bidding. That's called black magic, by the way, in case anybody doesn't realize that. Something human beings also fear. And they should. But they shouldn't fear magic. Magic is bonding and becoming in communication with the powers and forces of creation, particularly the primordial ones. Earth, wind, fire, air, water, metal. Can't leave out metal. Do you feel it? Iris came on, Liz came on, one by one. People came on, said, I'm here. It's a good bond. Because innately, after all those years of being at work and what people know naturally, bond was a word that their system registered in. Not their identity, not their psychology, but their system of unity, their system that once operated in realities of unity of which we're still a part. Those realities still exist. It's operational. So slowly but surely, we built. Then I posted it in another thread on Telegram for those that could recognize, remember, recall. This is why we do iMagi, because we're rebooting those systems of which we are innate. This thing doesn't work there. It's a sense of relationship, and with that relationship comes skills and capacities, relational capacities. And then we began to, I don't have a good word, we began to generate, we began to be calm. Not be calm like a personality or like an identity. We began to be as a being calm. We began to be calm. And then it built. And it's exquisite. It wasn't it? For those of you who were there. It's exquisite. It's like a love affair. And all the while aware that houses could burn, people could die. Some of us are friends. But we beed calm. And then there was a report that the winds would probably get lighter, that snow and rain were coming. We didn't cause that. We beed in unity with creation, calm. Then using metaphor, then the psyche, the soul of the wind and the fire and the earth and the water and human being, the soul, we are one soul, become operative on behalf of all life. We'll see how many people died, maybe none. And then C reached out to some of our friends that I didn't realize was there. And then she took on horses because horses weren't finding a place. It's all about giving something a place. It's all about that. When everything has a place, everything can operate in harmony, symmetry, proportion, and balance. The creation had figured out. The intelligence of the primordial forces figured out. They've been given the right informing. The piece I posted, and I don't know if we ever posted on Sacred Space. We probably should. But I don't know what happens on Facebook. I don't know if there's a place you can go in and see some of the documents or not. Praline, remind me, and I'll ask Christina. So the point is that when Michael, who has COVID, by the way, we're going to hold him in this field today as we did last time. He was taking care of his dad who got it in the hospital. But he'll take care of it, he'll operate in it as if he is inside information. And inside that information, it's not data, it is formation itself. It's something forming. So yesterday, that was completely operative. We started into a forming. And we kept informing. In other words, informing, in the word forming is the action. And in formation, there is an activity of something becoming formed. That happened yesterday. Those of you that were there and operating on it, and those of you that came in and added not your weight, you added your love, didn't you? Your caring, your sympathy, your, empathy. You used your empathy. That's why we get tugged, so we can tug back. It's like being, you have a rudder on a boat and you have oars on the boat. But the motor's always going to go. That's creation. But we can use the oars to direct where the boat goes. We can. But we have to do it on behalf of all life. Not because we fear our security or our, I don't know, I can't go there because I don't understand it. I've lost so much in my life, and I suffer from loss of beings that I love, but loss of place, I know better. I know it can drag me down if I think that my security is in the place I'm living. My security lies in my relationship with bears, and dogs, and the elements. and what created me. How about you? It's a good day for examination. So I wanted to share that because that was epic. That was yesterday, and yes, thousands of homes were lost. But I'm very curious how much life. Because that's the point, isn't it? The point is to stay in unity with creation in such a manner that if you want to be here and you want to participate, you can. Also up to you. But not to be at the effect of being here. Not to hide your head in the sand and hope it turns out for you. I'm very curious what the it is. The it that we want to have turn out. Because it's usually an it connected to fear of something. And not as much connected to just the God blessed joy of being here. Having rich moments every day. And sometimes we have to go against our own biology. We have to go against our own emotions, our own feelings, because the feelings and the psychology of our mental mind are all wired into trauma. You have to really generate craving joy. You don't find it. It's not a thing out there you run into and it gives you a nipple to suck on. Hope Facebook doesn't take this down because of that statement. You're the generative principle. You're it. But with others in the field builds the strength, stamina, and capacity for being more of it. It joy, it love, it companionship, it delight. All the juicy stuff that made us want to become corporeal anyway. So in this event with Yvonne and Anne, it wasn't just Yvonne and Anne, but I'm not at liberty to say who the other person was. This kind of, and my daughter, this kind of thing that happened at like 1:30 a.m. Mountain Time, when my dog, or Liana's dog, my god dog, woke me up to play. But then I got a text from my daughter, so I realized he realized she was up, so he got up. So we played. And then this series of events happened between maybe 1:30 and 3:30 in the morning, Mountain Time. And I began to hear something. And that's what I want to address at noon Mountain Time today. The information's posted on this Safe and Sacred thread. Because I channel not to channel an entity. People used to ask me what I channel, and I said, I channel you. But it's really more like being able to listen without me present, without my own considerations, my own thought waves. And as I listen, I talk. It's a little bit like translation, translating a language. And this one phrase showed up that really gave me the set point, probably of the prophetics. More than likely, that's what the prophetics. And the word was reconstitute. And that's what I'm going to address. It's going to activate. Because I would say that has everything to do with the next year. And I'll get more into that on the call today. Because on Facebook Live, on Safe and Sacred, we come together as a cultural community of life is sacred. And this is the sacred space for rest and courage. That's literally why we come together. But we also build the calm, rest, the calm. And in our bodies, we have the calm. It's I think it's our sympathetic nervous system. Could be the parasympathetic, I get confused. But it's one of those two. And it's interesting that somebody write what it is, so I have the right word, so I don't imprint the wrong thing here. But the most fascinating thing about our body is how it has sacred structures. So one of the sympathetics, either para or sympathetic, one of them warns us when we're in danger, so we can freeze if we need to not be seen by the tiger. We can run if we can outrun the tiger, and we can fight if we can beat the tiger. It's very simple. And that's required for this place. But why is our body a dual system? Anybody ever thought about that? Lecter will have to take this out with the next book, Metabody. Has there ever thought about that? Because the other system is rest and digest. And we think about digest as food, but what if it's digest the trauma? You ever heard of what's it called, a sin eater? It was actually an assignment. It's actually a job in the Catholic Church. There were actually monks that were assigned to be sin eaters. They ate the sin of others that could not digest their own sin and turn it into nourishment. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So imagine that part of our dual system is rest and digest. Calm, the calm and the ability to absorb trauma and turn it into life force energy. Doesn't that sound real? It is real, by the way. It's just more the original design of a human being than what human being has been construed to be, which is so not what a human being is, believe me. So I always get frustrated at certain moments because it's not I'm mad at humans. I'm mad at the forgetting. I'm mad that something caused humanity to forget. That something caused humanity to forget. And I'm here to have that not occur anymore. Again and again and again and again. And then I have to go through my own enlightenment every single time. I have to remember what I was before I got lost in the mesmerization of trauma and an enemy and separation. And there's got to be something to always hate or something to always fear. It's like so cumbersome. And then at some point in those lives, I wiggled out of it. In the other conversation I had this morning, when all this, realizing I needed to, and we're setting it up in a really galactic way. We have in the thread of Tantra Mat on WhatsApp, which are all you're totally open, welcome to join if you like. It's a community thread, a common unity with creation thread. It's not really about advertising or anything. But the other thing that happened this morning that made me, I know what I was going to say. So Beryl has been sounding, that's a language of creation, by the way. Sounding is, so is Yvonne, in Turkish time, I'll say it that way. And Beryl's been sounding Central Time, noon, and Yvonne when she feels the timing, and 12 Irish time. But what it's done is just remarkable in the thread. What it's done is it's opened up something. I don't know what it is. That's why I want to do this call, so I can listen. I can, I don't know if you realize we hear between our ears unless we're in a collective. But we're all part of a greater whole. So for me, when I'm in a collective, it gets the attention of whatever's in communication with us, not an entity, but intelligence, and not an intelligence, not the intelligence, but intelligences that are starting to be active in our human system, our human consciousness. So the best I could figure it out is say, because I'm listening to the soundings, and they sound like they've been open, these galactic planetary, I wouldn't say portals, because those are usually directional, landscapes. I think that's it. I think that sits well. But see, these are really real. We just haven't had the operational systems reboot that allows us to be in those direct relationships. We still have this sort of human facade in the way of it that just doesn't have anything to do with what we are. As a being, human is only a smart part of what we're being, what we're designed to be. So I realized that if you work in numbers, numbers are really magical, at least where I'm standing, they're magical. It means I've established a method of communication between other powers and forces of creation, like Dom and her established math, which are numbers, communication, calculations with these beings called selves. In the Mimsy project, we established the number 5 in different combinations that make 5, if you add them all together, like numerology. And that seems to be an interactive, interrelated communication that's pretty much in the background now, not active at the moment. But it's a code that allows that aspect of us that carries the intelligence that we all share in math to have wow, something's present, something's there. So when Anne texted me that, first I thought I just wanted to talk. But then when Anne texted me, she had her sounding in 1 hour and 45 minutes. My mental structure got informed and reformed. And I realized we could do a triple 12. Beryl would be doing 12 central, because my language of creation, my spoken language, is a sounding too. Anne has already done her 12 Irish, and I would do 12. So we create a triad of 12, and it's not like it's a method that you learn and you apply. You can just hear that was what was being called for. That was the entry point of something. And the fact that I can even have this conversation is just friggin' amazing. That I can just calmly say this. Because believe me, I do not have these conversations with ears that can't hear. Was that pearls before swine thing? And swine are great. They're the only ones that can get muddy and roll and stuff and still have a good time, not think they have to bathe. So it's a phenomenon of coherence that's occurring, and probably cohesion now. And obviously congruence is easier. We went through this whole New Age era where we were aligning with what we were listening to the best of our possibility. And then we started into the coherence era, which the spirals of being and the sections that the field of Tantra Mat did starting in 2014. And other systems started creating coherent fields within which we could basically hear. But not hear survival conversation, hear restoration, remembrance, recall conversations, so that we could get back online and become part of the realities of unity that exist here, have never gone away, that human beings lost their registers for, and became trauma mesmerized, thinking there was something to recover from, something to fix. Terrible gerbil wheel. So I work in system restoration, and more human beings are starting to realize they just need to get their system rebooted. It's not a personality issue. Yes, personality was shaped by trauma, but it's a system issue. That's why I'm field-centric. Restore the field, restore the reality. Restore the field, restore the reality. Restore the field, restore the reality. You can do that broken. You can do that with the hounds of hell tearing your skin off. Sorry, too graphic probably. You just keep going. Because you know the outcome is the restoration of field within which the realities of unity become visible, become operative again in a human system. They're already operative in other systems. The earth, the planet, the galaxy, other forms of life here, other intelligences. So that's what happened. I created a 12-12-12 interface. So at noon Mountain Time today, I'll be the third 12, and we'll see what happens. It's magical. We have no idea. But the really good news is we're starting, our systemic nature is returning. I don't say phrases like, I trust, or you trust, because our I and our yous are still traumatized, for lack of a better term. But there's this we, us, they, it. And there's this consciousness of being that is starting to occur in a way that we find ourselves responding to, because it's all in what we respond to, or capable of responding to. I apologize. Find ourselves capable of responding to. Totally, in one way, bypasses the mental perceptive system until the mental perceptive system can perceive it, and then it just feels accurate. It doesn't feel like belief. I never practiced belief. I never practiced healing because they were all interim. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a cut without stitching it up, or knowing there's a natural process that'll heal it. You can either stitch it or put palm leaves on it. But to restore the natural system, restore the capacity of the natural system is everything. So in the field of Tantra Mat, it's a design field. It's not I designed it. It became apparent to me, and I put in the structures that allowed it to sustain and maintain itself and create a generative field of embodiment for myself and others. And in that, it's a very different thing. It's very different to be field-centric and to operate in a living field. In fact, the other conversation I had, the one that started this whole ball rolling that you're now getting to be privileged to and empowered by, I would hope, is someone saying they trusted me, so they were willing to work with someone, but they wanted to stay within a structure of a certain discipline. Well, that particular discipline they thought they wanted to stay in the structure of doesn't require people to stay in the structure of its discipline. Other things do, like the Catholic Church. A lot of gurus require that their people not take up, just be in the path of the guru. So I just wrote back and said, that's not what this particular system is interested in. In fact, that particular system directly stands in the face of what goes against life and builds its power, its stamina, and its capacity to be that which goes against life cannot destroy. So it would seem to me, those of us in an alliance with that kind of field would be busy building our strength, stamina, capacity, so that that which goes against life has no home in us individually, has no home in our collective. It's just a matter of taking territory. It's not like either or. It's just taking territory of paradise until something can't intrude in it anymore. When something becomes quantum, nothing can bother it. Like in the field of Tantra Mat, it's such an amazing thing to me. It always has been. And it was so beautiful when the head of Damanhur recognized it as a field, because it's operational. It is operational. We just live inside its tenets because we chose to. Not inside it separating from the world, inside it as part of our operating system. Just part of it. The unity of heaven and earth, the cosmology and the planetary mind restored, and the Mat, symmetry, proportion, balance, harmony, grace, and beauty. They're operating states. They're systems of restoration, recall. And there are not a lot of people that register what I'm saying. There's still the mesmerization of harm and trauma, protecting yourself from others. It's not wrong, it's just insufficient. It just doesn't get to the higher octave playing field that created this place that I now call home. Now, the last thing I'm going to say, which is why I wasn't the least bit concerned that I was doing a Facebook Live this morning and another channel call at 12 Mountain Time, is that there's something human beings don't know about themselves. They're called points of influence. So let me do it like a story. See how it goes, okay? So yesterday, this amazing friend, Kea, friend of life, a beloved. We're all beloved, you know. But she called on me. She called on me to go into action. Action I would have never taken. But in that brief moment of time, speaking for me, another group got all of me. Now I'll recede. I'll go back in the background. But they got all of me because they needed all of me for me to keep my promise to her. That's a relational field with power, with influence. With the LOC Institute in its developmental phase, never walked away. I would never do that. Because at some point, the relevance of that institute would become operationally, overwhelmingly needed. This is what happens when you live outside linear time. You're paying attention to what kicks butt, basically. Sometimes it's actions, sometimes it's the coming together, sometimes it's the activity of an individual. One of the people that contacted me in the middle of the night last night, or I read their WhatsApp in the middle of the night, is someone who if they get to the other side, they'll take a lot of territory of paradise. They'll restore paradise here at a high level. So they're worth my time. Not that I'm not dual. Doesn't mean other people are not worth my time. Just not worth the objective. They're not what can achieve the objective. That's all. I still love them and adore them. Still love being with them. But operational influences, that's right now key. Being an operational influence is a big key right now. So yesterday, and then I tapped the field of Tantra Mud, and people rose, and people went to work, and people engaged, because it's all in the engagement. But we became, if you can imagine, we became this energetic power. Not power to dominate, but I am going to use the friggin' word because we have it completely misinterpreted. Power means life force energy. It means the ability to be in communication with the powers and forces of creation as an equal partner. It's just that simple. We gain a place on the playing field of how this place turns out. I like that. I don't know about you, but I like that. I think it's great. And I think it's what we're designed to be, which I think makes it even greater. Instead of waiting to see if the I can belong to humanity for 10,000 reincarnations. And the humanity can hear who the I is. Ugh, disgusting. Only because people are disgusting. It's just that mesmerization has humanity so hard, so badly. We will kill another just to belong to a group of human beings. I mean, that's got to be bad, don't you think? So what happened is we gathered power, we built power, we became part of the operational system of creation. So today, in the next 24, 48 hours, we'll see. We don't know. I don't know. We can feel it, though. Can't you feel it? Those of you that participated, those of you on this call that are registering. So we have influence, we have say. We have say, we can direct the energy, and we can direct the energy because we're in this unified, cohesive field. with the greater powers and forces of creation for a period of time until they get distracted and go elsewhere, probably. I don't know. Don't ask me to be too detailed. It's the operational system I'm interested in, not that explain it all to me so I can understand, which you never will. Neither will I. So it was just magical that at 1:30 in the morning, this event happened between Anne and Yvonne and I, and then between this other person and I, and my daughter and I. Engaged. Something was engaged. So why not bring that engagement into the Facebook Live, which is what we're doing right now, and then engage it again at 12 noon, and then Mountain Time, and then you all can figure out who were participating in that. You all can figure out what you want to use your engagement that built the power on behalf of. Like the minute C said that they were having trouble finding the horses a place to stay from the burned down stables. Part of my force in me is now being assigned that job. Not me, I'm not assigned that job. The force. Remember the force is with you? Remember directing the force? Anybody watch Star Wars? So even in this call, we're directing the force by information, by being information, by being informed. It's not an I directive. I guess it's a heart directive, but it's a juicy directive. I don't know. For me, it's more of a gut directive, gut heart. I don't know. It's a whole system response. It's terrible. We have to divide it into specific. We have to find the one thing that something is, another part of the mesmerization. We can always tell we're engaged, even if we don't know what it is. So and if you have other things that you're engaged with, a collective engagement, then know that whatever happened in the ripple effect of the last 24 hours, 48 hours, no, 24 hours, has built a quantum amount of influence, and you can tap into it and direct it if you're operating on behalf of life. By the way, it won't work very well for just your own survival, unless your survival is necessary to the quality of life here. Ooh, a little bit hard to swallow, maybe. But at some point, I had to figure that out after I had COVID and then Lily died. I needed to see if I needed to go recycle or if my life was still provided something here that had quality. Because there won't be doing time much longer. I don't know how to have this next conversation, so I don't think I will. You know, we do have to confront certain things to grow, to be developmentally sound, mostly ourselves. We have to confront if we are that chooses to bring quality to life. I like to bring skill, stamina, capacity. That's my juice. I like restoring the magic. That's my juice. And to tell you the truth, up until 2014, it felt to no avail. Because the higher operational systems of creation were not viable. The fields weren't restored. The original matrices that once used to hold our direct link with creation were broken. It's not true anymore. So it's, we have New Year's resolutions. How about constructions? How about you as an inner being choosing your own construction, regardless of what you've been under the influence of? You don't think the hounds of hell haven't come after me in my life. You don't think that something hasn't gotten to me and taken what I loved, trying to break me. You're mistaken. You don't think my own mind didn't turn against me and try to stop me from being what I am. You should have been there. Some of you were. I know the deal. What's sitting in front of you wasn't always this way. I took the territory. We don't have days off now. Breaking yourself out of linear time so you can be available for when there's the opportunity to influence with others with the greater powers and forces of creation will become more and more mandatory over the next 6 years. Isn't about using your life up for it. I have more life now than I've ever had, human life. But I know when I'm called to respond, and I have the skills and capacities to respond, and I imagine I guard negate will build more powerful skills and capacities because they're inside of us. They just haven't had a field within which they could become operative, and now they do. Not the field of Tantramat, the field of creation. And inside of that, it's just what the field of Tantramat's paying attention to. Self-train, self-study. Self-train, self-study. Not for survival, but for capacity, for skill, for being in unity with, for the ability to operate on behalf of effectively. What do you think? It's up. And just for those of you in the field of Tantramat, operatively, that means you participate. You're all part of it because they're principles. You can't not be part of principles. You just can be part of the operation, not part of the operation of those principles in a certain manner. We all belong to life. We just all belong to life operatively in different ways. But I want to thank the people that are operative in the field of Tantramat. And you know who you are because you'll say I am or I amn't, regardless of what you use in linear time. Oops, my computer's about to die. But I want you to know that the work you've done all these years and who you are and who those of you that came in at different points, we have the ability to build strength, stamina, capacity on now, beyond our wildest belief. It's not egoic. It's innate. It's natural. It's what we were always designed to be. I love you. Love all of you. See you next year.